This is Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm going to do a live stream today. Give me a moment to set up, and while I'm setting up, take a moment to read through the video and check out the pinned chat message there. I'm going to be doing some free live readings today. I'm seeing, I've gotten the message once or twice here that I have an unstable internet connection, which surprises me, but I hope my connection holds up and everything is good. I know I've heard from some folks in the past that sometimes it helps if you're watching the live stream, watching it in real time, sometimes it can lag a little. And so if you just sort of like move back a couple of seconds, it'll sort of give it time to buffer. So if that happens, I would recommend that to you. I'm going to be reading today using playing cards rather than tarot. And so I've chosen this deck. My French is not great, but I believe it's Jeu de cartes au portrait de Paris. These are from Artisan Tarot. And first edition, limited to 1,000 decks. And this is a restoration of a deck printed in Paris by J. Triolier, sometime between 1735 and 1751. I love this deck. I have excellent results with it. And so I thought I'd share those with you all today. I'm going to burn some Palo Santo. I also want to say the weather has really started to heat up here where I live. There's sort of only 2 seasons here, very mild winter and blazing summer, and we're entering the blazing summer stage. So I have an air conditioner running in the background, and I hope that the sound of it will not interfere with my audio. I hope that the audio software and my microphone will eliminate that. Hopefully it won't become a problem. Okay, let me set that aside to burn out. And I have a cup of tea here. Today I'm drinking Twinings raspberry lemon tea. Oh, which is delicious. Let me get my list started. Looks like several folks have already requested readings. Welcome, everyone. All right, so I see the first who's requested a reading is Cultivar. So I'll put them on the top of the list. Followed by Starry Night. and Litomi. All right. Cool. That's enough to get us started. And so, for those of you who might be new, the way this works is I'll read for people in order of appearance. Whoever asks first gets the first shot. And if I call your name and you're here, you can post your question in the chat and I will read for you. I'm doing just one question per person today. And if I call your name and you're not here, I may need to skip over you and move on to the next person, though I'd be happy to read for you again at some point in the future. All right, let me do some preliminary shuffling and make sure that these cards are totally random. I've read that mathematically 7 good riffle shuffles will randomize a deck of cards, at least 7. All right, I think that was 7. So let's go ahead and move into the very first reading of the day. And so that will be for Cultivar. Cultivar, you're up first. And so if you'd like to post your question in the chat, you are encouraged and welcome to do that. All right, great question. So Cultivar asks, I have a possibility of going back to my home country to teach at a university where both of my parents work. It's a possibility, not a guarantee yet. The question is, how is doing that for my long-term life, success, and happiness? Fantastic question. And I'm really grateful for the context. I find that the more context I have, the more precise the question is, the more precise my answers can be. So this is kind of a hypothetical. Like if you were to have this opportunity that's not yet guaranteed, but assuming it were to be guaranteed, and you chose to do it, how would doing that affect your long-term life success and happiness? Can I ask? Um, there's 2 ways we could look at this, or 2 sort of spreads we could do. One would be to just focus on what would happen if you were to pursue this opportunity, assuming that it is a possibility for you. The other thing we could do, which sometimes I find to be more helpful, is to compare and sort of think of it like you have 2 options. And one option is this possible opportunity, and the other is it sounds like it would be staying in whatever country you're currently at and continuing in the path that you have there. And so I think why don't we do that? Why don't we pull 3 cards for each of those options and compare them. And so the first 3 cards will represent following this opportunity to move back to your home country and teach at the university, we're assuming that that is an option, that that will be an option. And then the second 3 cards will be what happens if you just stay where you're at doing what you're doing now. Okay, so let's do that. And I like to sort of shuffle the question into the cards. These are randomized, as you saw, but now I like to think about the question while I shuffle again. All right. So, first three cards will be the option of moving back to your home country and teaching at the university. And second three cards will represent continuing on where you are now. Let's see what we get. All right. Let's see. I'm getting a little bit of glare. That seems better. So first three, seven spades, four hearts, and eight hearts. Okay. So, the potentially good thing here is that both of these strings of cards end with a bunch of hearts, right? Eight hearts here and seven there. The seven's an odd number, and so that can sometimes suggest a challenge, especially with the sevens. But they are both hearts, and so that does suggest that whichever option you choose, they'll be you'll be kind of following your desire, or you'll be doing something that fulfills you. Um, the family aspect is important here for a couple of reasons. First, I see the four hearts in the first string of cards, and four hearts tends to represent family, right? And so you mentioned in the context you gave that you'd be going back to your home country, and you said it's where your parents work. And so, uh, if you decide to do that option, let's read these three first. Um, there may be a little bit of feeling like you're being tested, like with the seven of spades. It may feel a little bit like you have to prove yourself a little bit, in a situation where you will be working at the same place that your parents, your family work. There may be some unique challenges or problems that come up with that whole situation. But all in all, I think it's going to turn out really well. And so I say that because seven spades, that's pretty bad. I'll be totally honest with you. Seven spades is not a good card. We don't want seven spades. Traditionally, in traditional cartomancy, seven spades is the card of tears. Uh, but the spades are replaced by hearts that double from four to eight. So more than anything, there's a great sense of fulfilling your desire, right? Of happiness. Hearts are the suit of happiness. At least they are in the way that I read playing cards. And so this suggests to me that while you may feel tested, there may be trouble at first, and it may have to do with the unique circumstance of working in the same place that your relatives work. uh, Over time, reading left to right as time moves on, that goes away, and we get you get sort of a profit of extra hearts, right? From seven to eight, one extra heart than how much it hurt. So though there will be challenges, I'd say it would be worth it in a in the sense of you doing something that is in line with what you want, right? So let's look at what would happen if you didn't pursue this, assuming that it does turn out to be a possibility for you. And so there, the first thing we see are the four diamonds. And so with diamonds, I tend to think, of course, of money, right? And four diamonds is fine. Four diamonds is just enough, but it's not. it's enough, but it's not extra, and everybody wants extra money, don't they? And so, while we don't see any diamonds in the first string of cards, and we didn't specifically ask about money, although it's sort of implied in part of your question, staying where you're at now suggests you'll have just enough financial resources or other material resources that we all need to survive. You'll have just enough to get by, right? Uh, but as you're doing your work, there may be a sense of your feeling regret, right? Like, why didn't I take that other opportunity? I'm reading because I have no reason not to. I'm reading well, although I guess I should say, if I knew which pronouns you used, he, him, or she, her, that might change my interpretation. My first instinct is to read the King of Clubs here as you, but if you are not a King of Clubs person, this could be some other person, a guy, like maybe your father, uh, who is feeling disheartened at your choice to not pursue this opportunity. So either you, if you're a King of Clubs person, or another man who I would think here most likely, given the context you gave me, your father, is really a little heart sore that you didn't take up the opportunity even though you had the option, because we're presuming here that it does become an option for you. So, you will be able to answer whether you're the King of Clubs or that's your father or some other person better than I could say, because you know the context better than I do. But like a working man, an enterprising working man, is feeling um, heartache, a little heart sore, like there's an obstacle in their heart feelings because of your decision to uh, not take up this opportunity. So obviously, you will need to make your own decisions, and I'm not here to tell you what to do. And and that's all up to you. But I would say, while with the first option of pursuing this opportunity, while it is going to be a challenge at first, I think it will be worth it in the long run, and potentially more worth it than if you did not choose to go. Because the problem with choosing to stink is you might feel kind of stuck. Changing. You are where you are, and it's just all. And someone, you or your father or another man, is sort of regretting that decision. And unless it's the kind of situation where this is your father and you really do want to make him feel heartache about something, maybe that's the case for you. If you wanted to do that, then rejecting the opportunity would be a good way of accomplishing that. But assuming that you have a good relationship with your parents and your father in particular, if this is your father, then I would think probably trying out this opportunity would be the better choice in terms of how you are going to feel um, fulfilled as a person about your life in the long run. All right, and I'm just going to peek back through the chat here. The other option, so it sounds like this second option is staying in the United States and taking care of your health and finances. So, with regard to health and finances, I mean, I'm also in the United States, so I have a sense of what healthcare here is like, and I know that it's a problem, but, certainly it varies from region to region and person to person. Uh, for health, I'm often looking for hearts and diamonds, and so we do again have more hearts with the option of moving back to your home country. With money, money didn't come up as a major concern in either of the spreads. It's almost like the cards are telling you the focus here should be less on money and more on what will make you happy. And of course, money is part of that. I'm not denying that money is part of that. It certainly is. Seeing the 4 diamonds in the second string of cards about staying in the US suggests, like, will you have money? Yes, you'll have just enough money. But it's not like we see 4 diamonds and then 10 diamonds where it's like, "Oh, if the goal is money," like, if this 7 of hearts was a 10 of diamonds instead, or some other big diamonds number, I'd say, well, if the goal is money, you should stay in the US, but we don't see that. So, like, I don't see you being particularly, financially better by staying, if that makes sense. All right, and let me just check. I'm going to add Lolo Lilian. I'm adding you to the list, to the bottom of the list. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free live playing card readings today. If that interests you, please take a look at the description for the video and or the pinned chat message. I'm also available for paid private readings, either live, one-on-one, or pre-recorded readings. And if you're interested in any of those, you can check out the Linktree link in the video description. And I will add Mona Faye. I'm adding you to the bottom of the list. And yeah, Starry Night, you can go ahead and post your question and we'll move on to your reading. So, Cultivar, I wish you the best of luck with your choices and opportunities coming up, considering a move back to your home country. All right. So, Starry Night has what looks like a relationship question. And Starry Night asks, is there anything in particular that would get Joseph to want to be committed to me in the future over anyone else? All right. So for Starry Night, is there anything in particular that would get Joseph to want to be committed to Starry Night in the future over anyone else? Okay, we'll start with 3 cards for this one. 6 spades, Queen of Hearts, 10 hearts. Let me just look at this for a moment. So I'm reading this here, Queen of Hearts, as you, Starry Night, and you are looking at 6 spades, meaning you're looking at someone who's like walked away, someone who's backed out or abandoned you, uh, and turning that situation into a 10 of hearts situation. Now, with the 10 of hearts, this can mean a couple things. The standard interpretation of 10 of hearts, just like 10 of cups in the tarot, is pure bliss. Things are as good as they could possibly be. Happy, happy, happy. It's as many hearts as you can find on a card, and we want hearts usually. The other possible interpretation here is, if we're sort of reading it a little bit against the grain, which I tend to do to get um, as wide a context or interpretation as I can. We could also think of this is as good as it gets, right? You can't get more than 10 hearts on a card. And tens can also refer to completion, right? Like something has run its course. It's gone from 1 to 10 and now it's finished, right? Not necessarily finished in a bad way, but a 10 is that's it. So I want to pull 2 more cards and turn this into a cross spread because there's a little bit of ambiguity in the first 3 cards that are down, and I want to clarify that ambiguity. And so, one way of reading this is you're looking at someone who's walked away, but you turn that into a very happy situation. And that suggests a yes answer to your question. Is there anything you could do, right, to get this guy to commit to you? But the other way of reading this would be you're looking at the someone who's walked away and realizing it's run its course. It's over. And that suggests no, right? There is nothing you can do because it's finished. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a card at the top above the center card, and that card is going to suggest what you should do, if anything, to get the outcome that you want of Joseph committing to you over anyone else. And the card that we place at the bottom, this will be what you should not do. Okay, so let's pull those. All right. It's the King of Clubs. And underneath, I'm trying to see how well I can fit these in the frame. There, that's pretty good. All right, so we have a couple here. We have a Queen of Hearts and we have a King of Clubs. So we've got the loving woman, right, which I think is you, Starry Night, and we've got the man of action. We've got the enterprising man, the working man, here with the King of Clubs. And trying to think of how to say this. Okay. So I'm trying to think of the the delicate way of saying this. So down here with the 5 of hearts, fives I read in the playing cards as relating to the body. And so 5 hearts is Well, it's physical pleasure. Can I put it that way without getting weird? Um, this is saying what you should not do is try to use physical pleasure to attract this person. Does that make sense? I'm trying to be as delicate as I can. Um, if there like if there's any part of you that thinks, well, if I can please this man physically, he will choose me over everybody else. That is not true, right? That's not gonna work for this person. I'm gonna flip over the deck because I wanna see what the surprise card is at the bottom, and I'm gonna place it here to see what this man is looking at. You see he's looking over to something, and I don't know what it is. Huh. Alright, it's 4, clubs. Okay, well, so this is suggesting that there is potentially something you could do to get this guy to commit to you. And seeing these cards, what I read is that this is someone who wants stability in their life. They want a steady job, they want steady work, they want a roof over their head, they want all of their corners covered, so to speak. And so, what could you do? Well, if you could offer him that, that would be your best bet of getting to this 10 of hearts situation. So, with the clubs, we think of what grows like trees. These are little images of sort of stylized trees, right? A club is made of wood, right? So it's like a tree that grows. And with the 4, we can think of stability, right? A table or a chair has 4 legs. A house has 4 solid walls. And so, this I think is someone who, as a king, wants to be a king. As he's showing up as a king in the spread, and that tells us something about his inclinations and personality. Um, I'm just reading your chat message. Okay, no need to be delicate. All right. I know it's awkward because, we're strangers. We don't know each other. And so he's coming up not as King of Cups, but as King of Clubs. King of Clubs, right? And so not a King of Cups would be more like an emotionally intelligent person, or a man who's very romantic and loving. And he's not coming up as that. He's coming up King of Clubs. And so King of Clubs is more like, I want to take action. I want to do my job. I want to build things together. I want to make plans together. I would see here if there's a way to envision or plan a very stable future with you as opposed to with someone else. I think that would be the thing that would potentially tip the scales. I don't think this is a romantic guy, which doesn't mean that he doesn't feel love and have romantic feelings, but like in the way that he's acting outwardly, I don't think that he's a particularly like long walks on the beach and trips to Paris kind of romantic sort of person. He seems to be much more practical um, than that. And so, like, the way to this guy's heart is not through his heart, if that makes sense. The way to this guy's heart is more through um, practical plans for the future, right? Like if he could see himself um, living in a house together with you, right? If he could see himself comfortable in practical kinds of ways, right? Like if he could see that you would maybe sort of take care of him, that might be the sort of thing. Reason I say that is the king of clubs is on top of, above the queen of hearts. And so if you're the queen of hearts, she's the nurturer, she's the woman of love, she's the homemaker, she could be a mother, right? She's that kind of person. She can also be like a nurse or a healthcare worker. She's someone who nurtures the heart, right? This guy wants to be metaphorically on top of a person like that, right? Um, Now, whether or not this is something you want is a completely different question. If that kind of dynamic totally turns you off, well, then maybe you have your answer that it wouldn't be worth it, right? Um, and then you asked if there's about money. I wouldn't say anything about money. There's nothing here about money. There's that for that I would look for diamonds, and there are no diamonds here. So, while everybody, of course, wants money, I don't see that as being the thing that would tip the scales in your favor, right? Um, I think this is someone that would like to kind of be taken care of in a practical way, uh, like someone at home who would support him in his work, whatever that might be, or like in his career, right? Who would like keep the house clean and um, that sort of stuff. And so, if that sounds cool, then great. If that sounds awful, then maybe you have a different answer. Um, Towards tipping the scales more in your favor. All right. Let's see if anything else comes up. Oh, one more thing. So, one more thing. This guy, Joseph, wants practical stability. The Five of Hearts I read earlier in your reading as physical pleasure, and I think that that's still true. But the other thing about fives, beyond them being related to the body, because we have two legs and two arms and a head, five. Um, Fives are also a number that destabilizes, that can destabilize. Four is the most stable, and then five is adding an extra element that makes it odd, right? So the fives destabilize the fours. And so I think this is not someone, this Joseph person is not someone who likes to deal with or knows how to deal with strong emotions. Right? So if the relationship is too emotionally intense, he may run from that. That's the other thing that I would add. So we can still read this as physical pleasure, as if to say, um, to be not delicate about it. Sex is not gonna get you to get this guy to commit long term, right? But neither is making him feel like he has to experience any chaos or disturbance of his emotions. Uh, I think he would draw back from that. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free playing card readings today. Please take a look at the video description for information about how to request a reading. You can also check the pinned chat message in the chat. And I'm also available now for paid private readings. You can follow the Linktree link in the video description for information about those. I offer private one-on-one video conferencing readings as well as pre-recorded readings too. All right, so some other folks here have requested readings, and so I'm just going to update my list. All right, I'm adding Vitters to the bottom of the list. And I'm adding Bukal to the bottom of the list. And Sona Manukten, I'm adding you to the bottom of the list. And Ari, I'm adding you to the bottom of the list. All right, and Nelia Medeiros, I'm adding you to the bottom of the list. All right. So here's our list so that you can all see where you're at. And as a reminder, I'm going to do these readings in order as they've been requested. When it's your turn, I will call your name and you'll have the option to put your question in the chat. If you're not here, I'll have to skip over you and move on to the next person. But I'd be happy to read for you in the future at some time. I understand that because these take time, you can't always stay the whole time, and that's okay. But I have to respect the order of the list. I think that's the most fair way to do free readings. All right, and Cat Goddess, I'll add you to the bottom of the list as well. Okay, so next up, Litomi. Litomi is next. And so Litomi, great, you've got your question. Fantastic. All right, and so Starry Night with this guy, you know, I think there's a pretty specific dynamic he's looking for in a relationship, and it's all about keeping his life stable. He's going to run from his feelings, I think. You know, a lot of guys are like that. And so if, you know, if that's a deal breaker for you, then that's a decision you should make and be aware of. You know, but he's someone who I think wants kind of somebody else to care for him, and he kind of wants to be the king of the castle a little bit, if that makes sense. You know, a man's home in his castle and all that kind of thing. Some of that going on here with this person. Okay, so Litomi has a question here in the chat. Oh, good question. So the question is, what is the truth about my personality that I avoid? And how is it shaping my future? What a great question. I love this question. All right, so let me shuffle. Okay, for Litomi, what is the truth about Litomi's personality that Litomi avoids, and how does it shape their future? And so we'll start with 3 cards for this. 3 clubs, Jack of diamonds, King of spades. So, when I'm doing these live stream readings and I don't know what you look like or how you identify or your pronouns or anything like that, it can be a little tough to figure out with the court cards who is who. So I'll describe this in a kind of general way and um, with a hope that you can nail down for yourself who is who, right? Because of course the first question I have seeing something like this is which of these people is Litomi, right? And my instinct is it's the center card. um okay, you're a guy. So can I ask, are you like younger or older? Because the jacks tend to be younger people and the kings tend to be older. You know, jacks can be like well, they can be children, but they can also be, you know, adolescents or like someone under 30, whereas the kings tend to be older, like over 30. Okay, you're young. All right. So then that follows. I think it would make sense then that you are the jack of diamonds. And so then my question you're 20. Okay. So this is you, Jack of Diamonds. And so there's something about your personality that you're avoiding that has to do with it could be your father. Um uh, it's a king of spades, which is like somebody who might be kind of difficult to deal with. And like an older man who can cause you trouble. It could be authority in general, right? Because the king of spades can represent cops and lawyers and landlords and all of those people in the world, these men of the world who like try to keep law and order, politicians sometimes, um, those kind of people. And so, uh, you know, my first instinct here is to say that the part of your personality that maybe you avoid is the way that perhaps you are smart. Your mind cannot help but want to destabilize the authority figures of the world, right? Whether it's your dad or your landlord or the cops or, you know, whoever it might be. And I say destabilize because with the 3 of clubs, um, 3 is an unstable number, right? Like, imagine you have a table, but there's only 3 legs on it. Your table's gonna fall over, right? And so it's like maybe there's a part of your personality that you're not totally embracing with good reason, right? Because, we have to live in the world that we're in. And so if you go around all day just destabilizing authority, you're probably going to have a lot of conflicts and challenges and all of that. And so maybe there's a kind of rebelliousness in you that has to do, I think, really specifically with the way that you are able to see how their authority is often illegitimate. It's almost like maybe you're a little too smart for your own good. Uh, you have a vision, you have a mind that can look at these emblems of authority in the world and say, why do you get to make that decision? It's not logical, right? It seems like you're probably a very logical person if you're showing up here as the jack of diamonds, like a logical person. But I would also say with the jack of diamonds can be a student, meaning jacks are people who are still learning, right? They are still figuring things out. And so with jacks, it's always a question of um, what have they learned so far, but also what do they still have left to learn, right? Because they're young. That's all there is to it. They're just as we all are or were at one point. And so um, so that's the first answer to your question is what is it that you maybe try to avoid some of your feelings about destabilizing the authority figures around you because you actually do know better than them or you think you know better than them, right? And I say that because if it's a jack of diamonds, there's maybe still more to learn. But a jack of diamonds who's going to turn into like a king of diamonds is someone who would eventually develop uh, their mind. So the second part of your question was how's it shaping your future? And so I think for that, we'll turn the cut deck over and look at the surprise card and see what it gives us. And it gives us 4 clubs. And so, I think what this is saying is by avoiding your rebellious or anti-authoritarian um, nature, you're managing to create a certain sense of stability in your life. And that makes sense. I'll say that this reading resonates a lot with how I how I see myself, honestly. Uh, and it's a difficult path to walk when you see these authority figures in the world who you really don't think are legitimate, and yet through cultural context and conditioning and laws and the rules we have to follow to live in society, you really don't have a choice, right? Like you can point out that the law is wrong and that your landlord charges too much rent and that the grade you got on that paper was unfair as much as you want, but at the end of the day, um, pointing out its truth doesn't necessarily make it any different, even if it's true, right? And so this is saying to me that, like, I think what you're getting is practical stability in life, right? Like maybe you're able to hold down your job because you don't tell your boss that he's unfair, right? Because if you told him off and told him what you really think, maybe you wouldn't get to keep the job, or you wouldn't be promoted or advanced or anything like that, right? Um, and so that's sort of what I see here, is that there's a way in which you are maybe holding back on this part of your personality for practical reasons that make sense, like, um, unless you're independently wealthy, you need a job, right? We all do. We all have to work for our bread. And so sometimes we don't say what we think to our imbecile boss because we need that paycheck, just to give an example. Your specific situation could be very different than this little example that I'm pulling up. But that's what I'd say. Um, that it has to do with the way that you face the authority figures of the world, and the way that you want to work to destabilize that authority, but maybe you don't, so that you have your corners covered, right? So that your life is not chaotic, so that your life is more stable. And you say, "That's my biggest problem, I can't hold back." Yeah, it's hard. I have the same issue a lot of the time. I do think, like, you didn't ask for, like, advice about what you should do, but if I were to offer advice here about that, it would be, just remember you're still young. Um, I mean, the Jack of Diamonds does still have a lot to learn, and so that doesn't mean you're wrong, but it also might mean you don't know everything yet, right? And nobody knows everything. Um, and the way that your relationship to authority figures might change as you get older, which isn't to say that it would totally change, but um, I I guess the other thing, I would just, like, validate, like, it's okay sometimes, within certain boundaries that you can set for yourself, to choose your battles and to say, it's okay to not say this thing out loud to this person, even if it's true, even if the boss is an imbecile and the landlord is a jerk. Um, you know, you may not need it might be in your best interest sometimes, for the sake of stability in your life, to just say it to yourself when you get home, as opposed to saying it to the person's face. Okay, so next up on my list is Lolo Lillian. Lolo Lillian is next. Oh, and hi, Vitters. Vitters is asking about me, if I'm okay because I was sick. I am just fine. Thank you for asking. I was not fine, but I am fine now. Um, I got strep throat, and had it for 5 days before I went to the doctor and got a test, and they told me right away I had it, and so they put me on antibiotics, and after about 3 days on antibiotics, I felt better, and now I feel totally back to normal. I feel great. Um, but I'd scheduled a live stream for a week ago exactly today, and, with my sore throat, I thought, "There's just no way that I can talk," if I could do it silently somehow, I could maybe do it, but, talking for a couple of hours out loud on a live stream just was a bad idea. So, unfortunately, I had to cancel, but very excited to be here today. You're welcome, Latomi. Good. Thank you for that feedback. It gave you a lot to reflect on and helped you see things more clearly. That's great. All right, and we have our question from Lolo. And the question is, will B get married with Zine? Okay, so can I ask, just for a little more context, are these two people dating? Are they engaged? Like, have they ever met? If I had a little more context, I feel like I could give us a more precise answer. We're on reading number 4, Lolo's reading right now. And Bukal, you're number 7. And I'll also say, in preparation for reading for this question, will B get married with Zine? If we don't, so I find that when I'm doing predictive readings about what's going to happen in the future, the nearer the event is likely to be taking place, the more accurate the prediction can be. So if I'm asking about what's going to happen this afternoon or what's going to happen tomorrow, I can be more accurate. If I'm asking about what's going to happen next month or in 6 months or a year, the accuracy decreases. And if we're asking about like over 5 years or a decade, well, there are so many variables that it's hard to say with any kind of certainty. And so, without more context about like, if these people are dating and have been dating for a while, then, maybe within 6 months or a year, we could say, sure, they'll get engaged or get married. But if these are people who like have just met or don't even know each other yet, the chances of any accuracy for the reading really decrease. But I'll still read for it. Just with those sort of caveats, those constrictions. Okay, here we go. Will B get married with Zine? All right, 3 cards. Jack of clubs. 5 diamonds. Ooh. And 10 hearts. The Jack of clubs is looking outside of the spread, and so I'm going to turn over the surprise card to see what they're looking at. And it's 2 clubs. There. So, this looks like a yes to me. This looks like a yes to me, and let me explain why. First, whoever this Jack of Clubs is, I don't know if this is B or if this is Zine, but it's a young person, a young, practically minded, enterprising person who wants to make plans and build a life. This person is looking at someone who they can take hands with, but in really a kind of practical, friendly kind of way. So I would imagine that what we have here is more sort of a friendship or a not necessarily an arranged marriage, but there could be at first a sense of like, well, this just makes sense. Like this is practical. The two of us can help each other to get where we need to go, as opposed to madly in love, romance, and like can't stop staring into each other's eyes. And it's not that kind of thing. It's a more like um, practical, useful exchange. Like this can work between the two of them, right? And it may involve financial considerations. There may be an issue here of the two of them getting married makes good money sense, right? That they'll be able to live together and pool their money to um, to to feed one another and make sure they've got their hands on the resources that they need, and a little bit more than that, right? Because we've got 5, so it's just more than what they would need individually. And then all of that turns into great happiness. I mean, 10 hearts, as I said earlier in the live stream, is the most hearts you can have on a single card. And so this is very much a card of things coming together. And I can absolutely see this representing a wedding. And I think of that for at least 3 good reasons. One, the 2 clubs, this is like 2 people exchanging something. There's food at a wedding. 5 diamonds is always is the card of food. So anytime there's a context in which food could play a role, 5 of diamonds is that card. And where is all the exchange of something and the food happening? It's happening where there's a whole lot of love. And that sounds very much like a wedding to me. And so I'm going to answer your question in the affirmative. Yes. And I'll just add my disclaimer again, which is that depending on how far in the future we're talking about here, if these people have never met, then in 5 or 10 years, things could be totally different. The future is not set. Everything is subject to change. And so the reading I'm giving you today is more likely to continue to be true tomorrow, but in 10 years is not necessarily going to continue to hold up because of all the variables, right, in life. So that's the answer I'd give. I'm going to give you a yes, but with a disclaimer because I don't have more context. But this looks like a wedding to me. Yes. Okay, and so that was number 4, Lolo's reading, which means next up we have Mona Fay, who's number 5. And so, Mona, if you're here, you're welcome to post your question in the chat. And just in case anyone has trouble reading my handwriting, I'll just read the list. So 5 is Mona Fay, 6 is Vitters, 7 is Bukal, 8 is Sona, 9 is Ari, 10 is Nelia, and 11 is Cat Goddess. Did I miss you? Oh no, let's see. Where is Lux? Oh, I always forget I have to change. The default is in the chat is top chat, and I always have to change it to live chat, and I forget, which means that it doesn't show me some of the chats. I hate that. I wish it was just default to showing me everything. So let me see if I can find, where is Lux? I also wish I could search the chat. All right, so I'm adding Lux Agenda and Fabi and Laura. Oh dear, okay. Got a lot. So Lux Agenda. Fabi. Lara Crocs. Sunshine pattern. All right, and now I'm going to need to close the list because usually after about 10 I get tired, and I've got 15 on here. So, all right, so Mona, if you're here, it's your turn, Mona Faye. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some playing card readings today. Take a look at the video description for more information. I've got the list closed at the moment because I've got so many who've requested readings. It's possible I'll open it up again depending on who is here when their turn comes up. I'm also available, though, for paid private readings, and you can check out the Linktree link in the video description for more information. I offer private, paid one-on-one video conferencing readings as well as pre-recorded readings. Okay, so last call for Mona. Mona Faye, if you are here, you can post your question. All right, and if Mona is not here, then Vitters, you're up next. You're welcome to post your question. All right, Vitters, we've got Vitters' question. All right, Vitters says, I'm currently working towards a career goal, having almost one more month to try my best for it, but I'm too scared about the outcome. I know I should be positive, but still I'm unable to do so. What to do? Okay, we can definitely read for that. So the question here is less about what will the outcome be. The question is more like, how can you stay positive in this situation? I think that's a good way to frame it. Because sometimes when you ask a question like, what's going to happen? It takes away your own agency. Whereas the way you're framing the question is more like, how can I stay positive about this for the best possible result? And then that maintains your own agency, your own ability to do something to impact the outcome of the situation. All right, so let me shuffle. All right. So for Vitters, how can Vitters stay positive to impact the situation the best possible way to get the best possible outcome for themselves? And so I think we're going to do a cross spread for this, but I'll start with 3 cards: 7 diamonds, 1 diamond, 10 diamonds. Wow. Well, there's a lot of diamonds here. It's all about diamonds. And so my first thought, of course, diamonds represent money. And so this suggests that in the current situation, there's likely tension or a challenge around finances, and that's at first going to get worse, but then it's going to get better than it was before, right? And so I say that because we go from 7 to 1 to 10. And so seven's an odd number. It's a number of challenge. It's an awkward number. It's kind of imbalanced. It suggests um, an uneasy mind or an uneasy bank account, right? And this all dwindles down to where like you've got your last penny left. But aces, of course, also represent new beginnings and things starting, something new starting that gives you 10 diamonds, which is more than you even had to start with. And so, in a question about money or career, seeing 10 diamonds at the end is really positive, very, very positive, right? Because diamonds are the resources that we use to survive and to enjoy life, right? And so it's pretty hard to have too many diamonds. We want lots and lots of diamonds. And so seeing that while you're maybe struggling with them now, and that might become more of a challenge, knowing that you've got likely a good outcome on the way um, is good. A good good cards to have in your reading. So, but that doesn't answer your question. That describes a situation, but doesn't tell you like what should you do now to stay positive about where your career is going. And so let's throw down 2 more cards, one on top, one on bottom, to make a cross, and the top will be what you should do, and we'll read that in tandem with the card underneath, which will indicate what you definitely should not do. All right, top card, King of Spades. Bottom card is the Jack of Diamonds. Okay, so I don't know what the career is, but given the context that you've provided about like you're on the verge of starting this career or career goal, and this is indicating to me that you need to be careful about continuing to look like a student, or like, if not a student, then like an apprentice or someone who is still in training, right? That you need to be ready to, metaphorically speaking, sort of go to war with the bigwigs, right? To step up and take your place so that you can face um, the boss or the hiring manager or the big guys who sit up in offices and make decisions that can make or break other people's lives. that's the King of Spades kind of guy. You need to be prepared to deal with that kind of person, as opposed to being down here, the apprentice, the subaltern, the student who's smart and intelligent and has a good eye and sees things, but who's still trying to figure things out, right? Who's still trying to learn. Um, if you appear too much like you're still figuring things out, then this King of Spades guy is less likely, I think, to recognize you in the way that will further your career. Does that make sense? In other words, the King of Spades is looking for a peer, right? They're looking for kind of like another king, right? Who can handle aspects of the job. They're not necessarily looking for the student who's trying to figure out how to do the job. Does that make sense? So, I think this happens to it certainly happened to me, but I think it happens to a lot of people who are students or who are undergoing some kind of training process and, seeing yourself perpetually as a student, even after you're not a student anymore, can can cause can cause a setback, right? And so, the advice I would give you here is like fake it till you make it, right? Like, um, even and I'd also want to talk about imposter syndrome, right? Like, uh, thinking, well, I'm not really supposed to be here, and it was an accident that I made it this far, and I'm not good enough, and like all of that stuff. You got to get rid of that. You got to get rid of all of that stuff. It's not an accident that you are where you are. You're supposed to be there, right? Um, and so think of it more like you are entering a battle, right? Like you are entering a war. Like you have to be ready to fight, as opposed to thinking about it like I'm a student who's figuring things out. The advice here is you've figured it out. Now you've got to use it, right? The other thing I would say, given what you posted in the chat here, so you said you are indeed a student struggling to get through an entrance exam. It's a national exam with a less than 0.8% acceptance rate. Wow, that is tiny. So the other thing I'd say is earlier, I read the diamonds that came up for you as money. And I think that's, if you're a student, then to say you're struggling with money, that's a cliche, right? Which doesn't mean it isn't true. But the other way to read diamonds is I would read them in the playing cards and the Marseille Tarot as your mental energy, your ideas, your thoughts, right? And so um, you need to be brilliant. That would be the other way of putting it. From 7 diamonds, where maybe uh, your thoughts are challenged, as they should be for all students. All students should, that's part of learning, is having your ideas challenged, right? But then isolating the one odd element and then expanding it up to 10 so that it's as brilliant as it could ever possibly be. Um, Part of what these cards here, I think, are saying are, you maybe need to recognize how much you do already know. right? That in the 3 years that you've been studying for this entrance exam, um, you have learned a lot. And so part of this, I think, likely has to do with confidence, right? With the confidence of, um, not just believing, but, like, knowing that you can do this, that you are on par with the kings of the world as opposed to just the pages who are still trying to figure things out. All right. So I think I'm gonna need to move at a bit of a quicker speed here to get through all of these folks. So I'm gonna try to go a little bit faster. I still want to give everybody a complete reading. But Bukal is next. If you'd like to post your question in the chat, you can do that. And Vitters, I wish you great luck on your exams. Treasure how much you do already know. Like, acknowledge the value, the brilliant value of your mind. That's what this card is saying, the 10 of diamonds. All right, and we have our question from Bukal. The question is, does Arfat love me? Will he come back with a commitment? All right. Does Arfat love Bukal? Will he come back with a commitment? All right. We'll start with 3 cards. 2 hearts. There's that King of Spades again. He keeps popping up today. Okay. So I think that this has got to be the King of Spades has got to be Arfat. I think that that's correct. Let me just look at these a minute before I speak out of turn. Well, the first thing is if Arfat is showing up as the King of Spades, he's not a particularly lovey-dovey kind of guy. He's more like a Law and Order kind of guy. And he could be someone who's hurt you. You know, you said you want to know if he'll come back. So that suggests that he left. And, you know, the King of Spades is not someone who necessarily always has other people's, has bad intentions towards other people, but that spade is sharp. And so the King of Spades can, if he feels that he needs to, or I guess wants to, depending on what kind of person he is, he can hurt other people. He can. Doesn't mean he will, but he's capable of it, right? He's capable. And he's looking at the two hearts, but they're on the left, they're in the past, right? And so this is a relationship between two people, right? This is a connection, a loving relationship. And he's looking at it like it's in the past. And in the future is 10 clubs, which suggests, I think, that something is, if ace is a beginning, 10 is an ending, a completion of something. And so this sort of says to me that this person thinks the relationship is in the past and that they've put in all of the effort they're going to put into it. Right? That they've completed the cycle. They've exerted themselves as far as they're going to exert themselves. So that suggests to me a no to your question. But let's flip over the surprise card and see what it might add as some nuance to this. And it's 2 diamonds. Well, 2 diamonds suggests a conversation, right? We've got 2 people again, but now instead of loving, maybe they're just talking to each other. So I think that right now he sees this as kind of completed in the past. But the surprise is that he may be open to talking again. Now, will that result in a loving commitment? That I don't see. But I think he'd be open to, at some point, having a conversation with you, right? So the sort of direct answer to your question is no, but depending on whether or not you're open to negotiating things with this guy again, that could be on the table. But if the question, like, if you're wondering, is he going to totally change his mind, and I want to make sure, I don't think you should expect that. With diamonds, I think of communication and negotiating, right? Like figuring things out, exchanging ideas, right? And so it is possible that he'd be open to talking in the future at some point, but that would still sort of suggest, for right now, a no answer to your question, meaning if anything is going to change with this guy, it would have to be after the two of you start talking again, right? And you would have to decide for yourself whether that's something that you'd want to do. Do you want to sort of try to negotiate things with him again? And then I would just underline again that when we're in a relationship with someone, we generally want 2 people who are putting in an equal amount of effort, right? Like I put in effort and the other person puts in effort, and we're contributing together to build this relationship. And the 10 of clubs suggests that he maybe feels like he's already done what he's going to do, which means that if the conversation between the two of you opens up again, he might expect you to put in more effort than he's willing to put in. And you would have to decide whether that is worth it or makes sense, whether he's worth it, whether it can be a relationship on equal terms, assuming that that's like what you're wanting, right? Assuming that, because I imagine what most people want when they ask about a relationship is they want this. They want the two hearts, two equal hearts, alone together, just the two of them, and they're equal, right? But that seems to be more in the past on the left than in the future on the right. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. I'm doing some playing card readings today. My list is closed at the moment because I've got so many folks who have requested readings, but I am also available for paid private readings, and you can check out the Linktree link in the description of this video for more information. I offer live one-on-one video conferencing readings over Zoom or Google Meet. And I also offer pre-recorded readings if you're interested in that. And so next up is Sona. Sona, I think it's Manukten. If you're here, Sona, you're welcome to post your question in the chat. Yes, it's possible that, depending on who's here, I may open the list again, but I suspect I probably won't today just because I've got like 8 more on my list. And we're at an hour and 40 minutes. So, it usually takes 10 to 15 minutes per reading. But, I'd be very happy to read for you in the future, Vanilla and Pie. But I do have the list closed at the moment just because I've committed to reading for the folks that are currently on the list, and I want to honor my commitments while also honoring my time and energy. Okay, so second call for Sona. Sona Manukten. Thanks for understanding. All right, and last call for Sona Manukten. Okay, so if Sona's not here, then Ari the Fire Queen. Ari, if you're here, you can post your question in the chat. Second call for Ari the Fire Queen. Ari the Fire Queen. All right. I don't think Ari's here. Final call for Ari, the Fire Queen. Ari, if you're here, let us know and go ahead and post your question in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to move on to Nelia Medeiros. Last call for Ari. And if Ari's not here, then Nelia Medeiros. All right, second call for Nelia Medeiros. Nelia Medeiros, if you are here, you can post your question in the chat. Oh, good, you're here, Nelia. All right, go ahead and post your question, and I would be happy to read for you. All right. All right. So Nelia asks, what was Dave's thoughts of me after the lunch get together? All right. All right. What were Dave's thoughts of Nelia after the lunch get together? All right. We'll start with 3 cards. 3 hearts. 7 spades. And the King of Spades again. This King of Spades is stalking this live stream. I think this is the 4th or 5th time today in less than 2 hours that the King of Spades has shown up, but I have shuffled thoroughly every time. And this deck, while not new, is broken in very evenly. I don't think it's an accident that the King of Spades is showing up. All right. So what did Dave? So this has got to be Dave, right? This King of Spades has got to be Dave. Unless I had some other context that would suggest, given that you've asked about Dave, and also, look at it's David. The cards actually got the name David on it. So there's Dave. How about that? Okay, so what did he think of you? Was that the question, right? Yeah, what were his thoughts of you? Yep. So his feelings for you whether of friendship or otherwise, are growing. Three hearts, right? Growing. They're not steady yet, but they're increasing slowly but surely, right? But there's there's an obstacle here. Uh, I think he feels like he doesn't know enough. So, with of spades, it's like in between him and his feelings, there's the 7 of spades, which can indicate in this context, I think, that he feels like he needs to do an investigation or like there's a mystery or there's, something that's sneaky or uncertain, and he that is that's like blocking his feelings, right? Um, his feelings grow and then they stop growing because he feels uncertain about something. Uh, Let me just think for a minute. With the King of Spades kind of person, as I said in another reading earlier, is not a super romantic kind of guy. And so what could be happening here is that he is deliberately putting a stop to his growing feelings. Now, without more context, I couldn't say exactly why that might be. It could just be that it has to do with his personality if it's not some outside context. But like a King of Spades person, like David is showing up here, wants to do spades kinds of things. And so he does. Right? Opportunity presents itself, um, inject some law and order into his feelings. And because he's inclined to do that anyways, well, he just goes ahead and does it. Right. Uh, Another way of putting this might be to say that he buries his feelings. He says nope, and he digs a hole and he puts them underground, right? Um, so you know more about the context of this lunch than I do, but it seems like there's a potential here that's being cut off before it can get any bigger. And he is the one I would say who is acting towards cutting it off. Uh, if he had shown up as a jack, there's less agency here, less ability to act. Kings have the ability to influence the situation and act. They can do something, right? So can queens, of course. The jacks, though, have less ability to act in a way that will change things. They don't have zero, but less. But kings are kings. And so if the King of Spades wants to throw a bunch of spades at the hearts he sees coming, um, he can do that. And that's what we see here, right? As the heart grows, he's burying it. He's he's cutting it out. Might be a way of putting it. So I'd have to pull more cards or talk to you more about the context to explain why that's happening. But to answer the question of like how did he feel, I think he's locking his heart away. Cutting his heart off might be a way of putting it. The heart grows cold through his own action. The only other thing I could add, and I don't know if this would fit the context at all, but sometimes I like to draw on the classical um, meanings of some of these cards, and so um, the classical meaning in cartomancy, the classical meaning of seven spades is tears, and so he may have shed a tear. But I would really need more context to say that with any certainty. And you're here. So what I can do is I can add you to the end of the list and we can try to get to you. Next up is Cat Goddess. And so, Nilia, you might think about, based on what you know about Dave, why he might be burying his feelings or what it might be about the situation that is making him want to stop them from growing, right? It's like they're growing and then he it's not even a fence. I was going to say he puts a fence up, but it's not even a fence to stop them from growing. It's like he's burying them. Okay, we have a question from Cat Goddess. What can I potentially expect for the month of April? All right. And can I ask, so we're doing a general reading for the month of April. Um, do you have any big concerns, Cat Goddess, particularly about work, money, love, or any interpersonal conflicts? Sometimes if I can narrow down a general reading into one of those four main categories, it can help things to be a little more precise. And the categories again are, and I take them from the suits of the cards in case you're wondering. So money, that's diamonds, right? Work, that's clubs. Love is hearts. And conflicts, that's spades. Okay, so let's see what we get. 10 clubs. 6 hearts. Ooh. Okay, so 10 clubs, 6 hearts, and 9 spades. And so, what can you expect for the month of April? Um, so, a lot of work, a lot of pressure. And I don't know without more context whether or not we're talking about pressure related to your like job, or if it could have to do with a relationship. And I say that because we've got it right next to the 6 of hearts there. And so 6 of hearts can represent a long term relationship. So, like, this could indicate that if you are in a long term relationship, that you're having to put in a whole lot of work for it, right? That maintaining that relationship is um, requiring quite a bit of effort, and that it might feel at times that it's more effort than what you're getting out of it, right? That there's more effort being exerted than pleasure, right? 10 versus 6. Uh, and that this will lead you to feeling like you need to make a difficult decision. Okay. So that would be one way of reading this. If we're talking about, if you are in a relationship with someone where you feel like you're putting in more effort than you have time for, then that would be one way of reading it. But if you're not in a relationship, then it's possible that we're reading about another way in which you're putting in effort in life. And so my first thought there would be towards a job, right? Like if you're if you're working, you're going to be working a lot, and 10 clubs is the hard, and so that suggests you are in, right? And that in this case, if we're not talking about a relationship, if we're talking about a job, um, the effort you're putting in is maybe not making you feel as fulfilled in exchange, right? So you're putting in as much effort as you possibly can, but it's leaving you less time than you might like for fun, for pleasure, for for rest, for the fun, happy things that we do in life. Um, it's also possible. I don't know if you have trip or like a little vacation or something planned, but the 6 of hearts can indicate traveling for pleasure. So this could be like your boss wants you to work when you've scheduled a trip. And so you have to make a difficult decision about whether you're going to do the work anyways, just like go on the trip instead. Um, And so those are the first things that come to mind with no other context for the month, but something about putting in a whole lot of effort and feeling like you're not quite getting enough time to enjoy in comparison to how much effort you're putting in, and this leading you to make a choice that's like not an easy choice or not an easy decision to make. Um, with the spades, we think of conflict, we think of trouble, we think of tough times, and with 9, I think of it being like a final change or a final decision or like a final big push about something. And so it's like the conflict between the effort you're putting in with a relationship or work or something and the enjoyment you're getting out of it is going to reach a point where you have to make a judgment. You have to make a a potentially tough call would be a way to put it. And so that would be the thing to look out for is how are you balancing enjoying yourself, right? Enjoying your life, having a good time, resting, recovering, recuperating with all of the energy and effort you're exerting, and and it may lead you at some point in the month, probably later in the month, because it's on the far right, to have to make some tough decisions. And with spades, we could say that, the decision you need to make is, what are you going to cut? What are you going to cut out, right? Are you going to put in less effort in the work or the relationship? Or are you going to cut out enjoying, right? Cut out the pleasure, cut out something pleasurable, like, working that extra weekend that the boss wants you to, even though you don't want to, or accepting that maybe you're putting in more effort than your partner. Where do you make your cut at? That's what I'd say with the nine of spades here. Okay, and so next up we have Lux Agenda. And so Lux Agenda, if you're here, you can post your question. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break. I will be right back. Okay, I am back. So next agenda, Lux Agenda, if you're here, you can go ahead and post your question in the chat. You're welcome, Cat Goddess. I hope that some of that resonated with general readings, and unless I know the person and have the context of their life, it can be tough to nail things down. So I tried to hope that some of that resonated. All right. So, second call for Lux Agenda. Second call for Lux Agenda. All right. So, this will be my final call for Lux Agenda. Final call for Lux Agenda. All right. So, final call for Lux Agenda. And if Lux Agenda is not here, then Fabi is next. Fabi, if you are here, go ahead and post your question in the chat. Next up, Fabi. Second call, Fabi. Fabi, if you are here, you can post your question in the chat. Final call for Fabi. If you're here, let us know and post your question in the chat. All right, if Fabi's not here, Lara Crocs. Lara Crocs, if you are here, go ahead and post your question in the chat. Let us know you're here. Lara Crocs, and I can read for you. Second call for Lara Crocs. Second call for Lara. If you're here, let us know and go ahead and post your question in the chat. All right, final call for Lara Crocs. Final call for Lara Crocs. If you're here, you can post your question. Otherwise, we'll move on to Sunshine Pattern. Final call for Lara Crocs. All right, if Laura's not here, Sunshine Pattern. If you are here, Sunshine Pattern, you can go ahead and post your question in the chat. Let us know you're here. Second call for Sunshine Pattern. Sunshine Pattern, if you are here, go ahead and post your question. Second call for Sunshine Pattern. All right, final call for Sunshine. If Sunshine Pattern is here, go ahead and post your question. Otherwise, Ari, if you are here, you can post your question. Final call for Sunshine Pattern. And if they're not here, Ari, go ahead and post your question if you're here. All right, so I'm going to do a reading for myself. I'm taking a trip tomorrow. I'm leaving tomorrow and I'm going through Friday, 5 days. Well, 4 days, 4 nights. And I'm very much looking forward to this trip. I'm going to San Francisco and I'm taking the train. So I've got to get up early and I've got to get to the train station on time and catch the train. And then I have to transfer to a bus at a certain point before I get to my final destination. And so I'm curious about how specifically the train ride is going to be tomorrow morning. And so that's what I'm going to ask. I'm just going to pull 3 cards for myself to ask, how's that train ride going to be in the morning? Like, what can I expect from it? And hi, Silama. Yes, I can add you. All right, so let's see this train ride I'm taking tomorrow. What is that going to look like for me? Oh dear. 3 spades, king of spades. Oh, well. I'm just going to write these down for myself so that, because I'm going to put them in my journal later. 3 spades, king of spades, 10 spades. That's not. I don't think that I'm the king of spades. Rarely when I'm usually the king of clubs or the king of diamonds. And so I think the king of spades is somebody else. And so this suggests to me there's going to be someone on the train who's probably like the ticket taker, who might have some kind of an issue with me, like might cause some kind of annoyance with me, and that it might grow over time. Now, if it's not the ticket taker, and I'd say ticket taker because the spades people are like the police and the magistrates and the law and order people, and so that's the first person that comes to mind. But the spades can also just be anybody who sort of has ill will towards you. Very annoying person on the plane who's on the train who's really, really bothering me, and it reaches a point where I can't stand it anymore, right? Like, I don't know, somebody who's clipping their toenails and it's driving me crazy, or somebody who's like really dirty or something like that. So I will need to keep an eye out for who this person is, and maybe I can move cars or um, wear headphones or whatever it might be. But I'll need to keep an eye out tomorrow for like, who is this person who's going to be annoying at first and then like totally going to make me want to bury him. So I will have that in mind for myself as I get on the train tomorrow. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. So I told Silama that I would read for them. So let me add Silama. All right, and what else is happening? Lux had an issue commenting, couldn't post. Oh no, okay. Oh, you guys were here but couldn't comment? I don't know why that might have been, but so let's see who's here. Let's see. So Lux is here. I'm so sorry to hear that. Don't know why that might have been. Sunshine pattern. Fabi. Laura. Okay. All right. So, okay. So Ari, if I think Ari's not here, is that right? And Selama, if you'd like to post your question, I will go ahead and read for Selama, and then I'll come back through Lux Agenda, Sunshine Pattern, Fabi, and Laura. I'm sorry you all had technical difficulties. Okay, Salama, go ahead and post your question. And Jas Starfish, I will add you. You're going to be the last person I add. Jas Starfish. I'll put you at the very end of the list today. And then I've got to wrap it up. Laura says sometimes that happens if you put automatic comments on hold. I can tell you I didn't change any settings on my end, at least not that I'm aware of. So Salama, if you'll post your, oh, there it is. Great. An interview. All right. So, and Ari, unfortunately you missed your turn again. So Salama wants to know, may I have a reading with respect to an interview I had on Friday? What will be the result? All right. Okay. What will be the result of the interview Salama attended on Friday? Okay, let's pull 3 cards and see what we get. 3 hearts, 10 clubs, and the Jack of Hearts. So I assume we're talking about a job interview. And so this suggests um, a little bit of happiness and a whole lot of work coming your way. And that um, you're in a low rung kind of position, right, as a jack, as opposed to like a king or a queen, uh, but doing something that you're pleased with. And so the card that I most want to see when I'm looking for questions about like, am I going to get a job, is the ace of clubs, because aces are something new, but are very similar in that the ace is the first, and so in some ways there's a saying that there's only 9 numbers, right? And 10 is just 9 plus the 1 again, right? To make the 10. And so interesting that you're going to find yourself um, with a growing sense of well-being and a whole lot of work ahead of you. And so if you've got a whole lot of work ahead of you as someone who's like starting something new, as the jacks are often doing, starting something new, that suggests to me that you may have a job offer on the table. I think it's going to be pretty overwhelming. 10 clubs is a lot. Like that's as much as anybody can bear. It's a whole lot. And the transition from someone who well, I guess I don't know. You could be working now. I don't know if you're working or not right now. Sometimes when people have jobs, they're still interviewing for other jobs. But when I see the Jack of Hearts is like someone who just wants to have a good time, right? And so seeing the Jack of Hearts next to the 10 clubs suggests someone who wants to like go and feel good and make other people feel, having to make a really big shift towards their butt off. And so that I think will be a challenge for you. But if your sort of implied question is, am I going to be offered the job? I think you're going to be offered more work than you can handle, more work than you can potentially handle, at least right away. Uh, which I hope is a good answer. Like, I hope that that's kind of what you want to hear. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on this Jack of Clubs, right? I often think of clubs in terms of pressure, things pressing on you, things to do, things that occupy your time, that take up time, work, right? Effort. And so, here you are looking at a whole lot of that, but it makes you feel good in your heart. So it's not, work is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're looking for a job, right? All right. So next up is Lux Agenda. And to anyone who might be joining, I'm Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. I've been doing some free playing card readings here today. My list is currently closed for today's live stream, although if you'd care to subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to see more easily when I'm able to schedule live streams in advance. I'm also available for paid private readings if that interests you, and you can click the Linktree link in the video description for more information. I offer one-on-one video conferencing readings as well as audio recording readings. All right, so Lux Agenda asks, I sent a TikTok to my ex by accident. Oh no. Oh no, that's my nightmare. How did he feel when he saw it? It's a weird situation. I don't know if he understood it was an accident or he thought it was a strategy for me to text him. Oh gosh. Okay. Let's see. What did he think of this TikTok that you sent? Like, what did he think it meant? Not because you're not asking what did he think of the TikTok. You're asking like, what did he think you meant by sending it? Did he get that it was an accident, or was he like, did he read some meaning into it and think that it meant more than it really did? All right. What did Lux Agenda's ex think of this situation with the TikTok that was sent by accident? But he doesn't know it was an accident, or may not know. He doesn't know why it showed up. Here we go. 3 cards. All right. Jack of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts, 5 hearts. I mean, so I think he's the Jack of Diamonds and you're the Queen of Hearts, and he thinks that that you were trying to grab his heart. Right? Like he sees this situation as the two of you looking at each other with the goal of producing hearts, right? And so with the 5s, they can be related to the physical body, pleasure, physical pleasure with the hearts. We can also think of them because we have 5 fingers on a hand. So with the 5s, I sometimes think of like getting the heart in your hand, like grasping onto something, clutching onto something with the hand, metaphorically there. So, I don't think he understood that this was an accident. Like, it's like he's looking at it like you're the loving woman. I hope I'm getting the pronouns right. Like you're the loving woman who wants to grab his heart. Let's put it that way, right? Yeah, so that's unfortunate. If that was not at all what you were after. You say it's a sad TikTok about never forgetting summer 2023 and you met the next summer. Yeah, so yeah, that's, I don't know what I would even do in that situation. It might be better just to leave it alone and be like, "Ugh, what a faux pas," and just leave it. Because it's the kind of thing where now if you say, "I didn't mean to send that, it was an accident," he's not gonna believe that, like then it just sounds like because he didn't respond that you're trying to say, "Well, I didn't mean it," Ugh, that's so unfortunate. But what incredibly accurate cards. I don't know that there's anything you can even do about that except laugh at it. All right, let's see. Where are we? Sunshine pattern. If you're here, go ahead and post your question. Yeah, that's what I would do. Just pretend it didn't happen. It's something you can laugh about. If not today, then it's it's a good story to tell in the future. Jack of diamonds, queen of hearts, and 5 hearts. Yeah. So sunshine pattern, if you'd like to post your question. Cool. So sunshine pattern wants to know, will my person contact me by April? All right. All right. Will sunshine patterns person contact them before April or by April? All right. Jack of spades, king of hearts, king of diamonds, and we're going to turn the up card to see what the king of diamonds is looking at. 6 diamonds. Let me look at this a minute because we've got a young. So jacks or like pages in the tarot can either be young people or they can also be messages. And then we've got the king of hearts. We've got the king of diamonds. And so, you know, I don't know the gender of anybody in here. Like, I don't know. So I'll just start talking. And then if you want to throw more context at me, I might be able to get more precise. But so there's a lot of people here. Okay. He's a man and you're a woman. Okay. So, if we were talking about 2 guys, then it would be pretty clear that we've got one person who's like trying to get the other one to engage, but that the other one is distracted by all of these diamonds, right? But given that you're saying he's a man and you're a woman, I don't see a queen card in here, right? So my quick answer to your question is I think no. I don't think that that's going to happen for a couple of reasons. In order to give a yes, I would want to see 2 people facing each other. Preferably in your case, since you're a man and he's since he's a man and you're a woman, like a king and a queen, or even a king and a page, because the pages can be either gender, right? But none of these people are looking at one another, right? This person is looking at that person and that person is looking at that, but no 2 people are looking eye to eye, right? And so that suggests less about communication happening and more about like a chain of gazes. One person's looking here and one person's looking there, and so on. So whether he is the king of diamonds or the king of hearts, we don't necessarily need to nail down with any certainty, other than to say there are like other people that I think he's involved with in one way or another. but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily you, because even if the Jack of Spades is you, you would be looking at him, say if he's the King of Hearts, but he's not looking at you. He's distracted by this man of money over here, and something to do with this could be his car, or it could just be money in general, right? Something to do with moving money or ideas around. So, my answer here is probably not the answer you want, but I don't see like I don't see a man reaching out to someone else and then an interaction happening from that. Um, I'm just looking at it again to see if I can see anything else that might make me think differently. The only other thing I can think is with sixes, sixes can refer not only to paths, but choices. And so, if we were to read this as in that way, we could say perhaps he's thinking about it, but the actual act of doing it by April, I don't see that in these cards. Do you know, like, for context, is so it's most likely that he's one of the kings. The King of Hearts is someone who's in tune with their emotions, can be a father or like a father kind of figure. He's like emotionally well regulated, we might say. He tends to have people's good well-being in mind. He wants other people to be well around him, so he can be like a teacher or a counselor or someone, or like a guy who works in healthcare too. Someone who is good at taking care of other people. Does that sound like him? Or the King of Diamonds, this is someone who's very intelligent, someone who uses their mind a lot, probably at work, like someone who's an analyst, or makes important decisions regarding money, or is like a banker, or anybody who works with funds, anybody who works with finances or money in any capacity, or important ideas. Um, I don't know if that might sound more like him, but we could get a little more specificity if we could nail down which of these is him. If he's more of the like deal with technology. Okay. So um is he ever prone to conflicts? Is he ever the or is he shy? A shy, hesitant person who's like maybe really quiet and yes, that's him. Okay. So this is him. This is him. He's the Jack of Spades. Okay. So um he's argumentative. Okay, this is him. He's the Jack of Spades. So is he going to contact you? He is no is still the answer, but he is trying to get the attention or paying attention to um some other guy in his life. It could be his father, King of Hearts is often a father, so there could be something to do with like um, a father figure or like an actual father or like a mentor kind of person at work or school. And there's also something to do with another guy who controls finances or money, right? Like, when I see that, the first thing I think is a work situation. Like he's busy trying to get a raise, or could be a professor. Like if he's a student, this could be a male professor, someone, or like a teacher of some kind. But he is busy dealing with whatever is going on with these other two men in his life who are higher up than him. They have control over him in some way. They're father figures, they're teachers, they're parent, they're in charge, right? And he is busy with them trying to um, get things moving with them, right? Like he has some choice to make regarding these people, or he has something that he's trying to like move forward, some idea or something to do with money that he's trying to advance with regard to these people. And that's what he's doing, as opposed to um, contacting you right now. I'm glad we sorted that out. It can be tough sometimes when if I don't have the all the context and we get lots of court cards like who is who, right? But this is definitely him. If he's younger, number 1, if he can be argumentative, that's spades 100%. And shy, hesitant, like kind of quiet, that's 100% the jack of spades person. Yeah, so he's looking at these other two guys in his life who he has to deal with right now, and so that's occupying him in a pretty big way right now. Okay, so Fabi, you're welcome, Sunshine Pattern. I actually really like when this kind of thing happens because it tests me and I enjoy that. That's why I do these live streams because I'm always learning. I want to get better. And so it's tough when you see like, how do I answer a question when all I see are these court cards? Um, I appreciate it when that kind of thing happens. Okay, so Fabi says, "Will G wish me happy birthday?" So will G wish Fabi happy birthday? Will G wish Fabi happy birthday? Six spades. Three spades. Nine clubs. So the spades The card I would wanna see most is any of the big heart cards would be good over here, or some of the diamonds, like, especially the 2 of diamonds would be, like, at least a conversation, like an exchange between 2 people. All of the spades and the clubs, um, I think are tending more towards a no, but this is more like a probably than a definite. So there's a movement upward from like 6 spades suggests he's way out over somewhere thinking about something else entirely, right? Like your birthday is not on his mind. But then, and it also suggests there may have been conflict between the 2 of you in the past. That's a possibility. But like he's off headed down this other road that has nothing to do with your birthday. But then that intensity lessens from 6 to 3. So now it's like instead of being way underground, it's just like buried very shallow, right? Like it's only 3 spades instead of 6. And then there's a change that happens from spades, we go up to clubs, and clubs are like something is growing out of the earth. And with the 9, I would think it's like he has a decision to make uh, of changing his approach. Like clubs, it can be about his plans or his behavior. And with the 9s, that tends to be about like a final decision, right? You've gotten so far, and then there's a final change that needs to happen in order to complete the thing, right? And so I would read this as saying he definitely was not going to, and then he thought, well, maybe I should. And now it's like, well, I probably won't, but I might. That's how I would read this as as a probably not, but not a definitely not. It's not like if we had it the other way, just to show you, like if these had come up like this, then I'd say absolutely not, right? Like um he's thought about it and made a change that's made him feel like he's gonna bury this because it's bothering him, and then he just backs out completely, right? But that's not what you got. You got these, and so it's the other way. It's from absolutely not to probably not, but maybe. So in other words, he's contemplating it, but he hasn't decided that he's going to do it. And for anyone who might be joining, like Stormborn, hi Stormborn. My list is closed for today. I've got it's been a big one, as you can see, and so and I'm almost at 3 hours, so I'm not gonna be able to reopen it up today. I've got 2 more on here, and I'm gonna try to read for them, but I'd be happy to read for you, Stormborn, in the future. Um, but I do have to keep it closed today. So Laura Crocs, if you're here, Laura, I can read for you. Cool, Laura's here. Great. Okay, and so Laura wants to know, when will my Libra contact me? Timing. Okay. So for timing questions, um, there's a couple ways we can go about it. The most precise way is to build a timing into the question. So to say, like, will this person contact you within a month? or within 2 months or 3 months or next week or whatever we want to say. That's the most precise way to do it. If we want, we can leave it more open, and just see what the cards come up, and I can read the cards in terms of the speed of the suits and the intensity of the suits, but it can be less precise. So I always like to be more precise if I can be. So how would it be if we said, like, does a month seem like that would be helpful information to you, and like a reasonable time frame based on what you know about your relationship? Yeah, let's do that. 30 days. I love that. Okay. So, will the Libra person contact Laura within the next 30 days? All right. Will the Libra contact Laura in the next 30 days? Let's see what we get. King of Diamonds, Jack of Spades, 10 diamonds. Okay. So, I think that this is him and this is you. And we're looking at 10 coins. So, this is a probably yes. But I think he's overthinking it. Right? So I don't know the context or the history between the two of you, but with diamonds, there's like a lot of them, and that's great, especially if we're talking about money. But they can also represent ideas, and 10 of them can mean too many. Tens can be a lot in a good way, but 10 can also mean too many of them. And so I would read this as he's looking at you and he's thinking about doing it, but he maybe is overthinking it, right? But with yes or no questions like this one, will he or won't he contact you in the next 30 days? I tend to read red cards as yes. Hearts tend to be definitely yes. Diamonds tend to be probably yes. And you look at the last card in the string, and then black cards are no's, right? And so spades are definitely no, and clubs are probably no. And that's the basic method. Although it you that you often have to break the rule depending on what else comes up. But here I don't see any reason to break the rule. Here it looks pretty clearly like he's thinking about it, thinking about contacting you, but overthinking it. And so probably, yes, he's going to act on it and actually do it. but this isn't a definite that he would. And I'm just looking at it to see if there's anything else I'd want to add. Um, was there any conflict between the two of you in the past? I ask that because if you're showing up as the Jack of Spades from his perspective, it could suggest that there was maybe that he thinks that there was maybe like some bad blood, some conflict between the two of you at one point. The other thing I could say is, because I'm trying to figure out what to do with the spade thing here. Jacks can be messages. And so the other way to read this, if instead of reading you as the Jack of Spades, if we were to read this as his message, then that would actually suggest that he's overthinking sending a message because he thinks that it might hurt you. I don't know if that would be a possible way of reading this given the context of your relationship. But those are the sort of three main things I'd say is, broadly speaking, he probably will, but maybe overthinking it. That's one. Number two, if you are the Jack of Spades, he may be overthinking it because of feeling like you maybe hurt him at some point. And three, alternatively, if there's no scenario where he thinks that you hurt him, then he could be overthinking it because he thinks that his message will hurt you in some way or bother you in some way, right? Like pinch at you, poke at you in some way. Annoy you could even be a way of putting it. And while we're waiting to see if there's any more context from Laura, if Jas Starfish is here, you can go ahead and post your question in the chat. Jas Starfish, if you're here. Okay, cool, Jas. I see your question there. That's great. All right. So I don't know if Laura's still here, but I hope I answered that question in a satisfying way. And so now we'll read for Jas. What kind of healthy boundaries does Jas Starfish need to put up with people or relationships in general? And Laura says that you ghosted him because you didn't like his behavior. He's immature. So that's why you're not talking anymore. Yeah. So, yeah, the first two things I said is that he's thinking about it a lot, maybe to the point of overthinking about it, and it has to do with the way he feels like there was conflict between the two of you in the past. Right? That's why he's thinking and thinking and thinking as opposed to actually acting. But it's on his mind for sure. Okay, Jas, what kind of healthy boundaries do you need to put up with people or relationships in general? You're welcome, Laura. Okay, 6 diamonds, 3 diamonds, Jack of diamonds, and I'm going to go ahead and flip over the deck and we'll see what the surprise card is because the Jack is looking at something and I want to know what that is, and it's 4 clubs. Okay. Okay. Well, the first thing that I would ask, seeing all these diamonds, is um, if there's any way in which there's issues with money um, or resources that you have that some walls up around, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And so, and if it's not money for like your energy, like the energy that you are investing in other people. So that's the more like general level, is like the energy you're investing in people. But then the more concrete thing would be that could have to do with actual money, right? Or even a car. The 6 of diamonds is the card that can represent a car in the playing card pack. So, I don't know if there's anything about like people are taking advantage of your car or something like that, then that would be something to consider. But more generally, it's like, um, what boundaries do you need to set up? It's about these 6 diamonds that you've got, where your energy or your money is like moving through a clear channel. You can think of the 6 as like a path or choices that you're making, but then they kind of diminish, right? Like they're cut in half from 6 to 3. And like, why did that happen? Why did you go from having all these beautiful diamonds that are going to allow you to do things, to move things from point A to point B, and then something happens where now you've only got three and it's unsteady, right? With three, it's like um, there's not four legs to keep the table steady, right? The three of diamonds can mean um, a small amount of money, like not quite enough to cover your four corners. It can mean a scattered mind, like other people are taking so much of your energy that you can't focus as much as you would like to be able to focus, and you're still learning how to deal with that. And the surprise card that you're looking at are these four clubs. And so clubs are like trees, right? Like pieces of wood, and it's like put up a wall around it, around your energy that you're investing in people, um, and or maybe your money or your car, as I said. So I would note that it's clubs and not spades, which means like the boundaries, the healthy boundaries you're putting up are healthy because you're not cutting people off, right? And so that's sort of, I think, the first key point is how does a person set up a boundary? There's a couple ways of doing it. One is very much about um, it's severe, and that would be spades, right? That would be like if they don't do what you say, you cut them out. But clubs are softer, right? Clubs are about like, I'm not cutting you off. I'm not going to war with you. I'm just putting up a fence and I'm saying, this is my area and that's your area, right? And we can talk over the fence, right? But but this is where I am and that's where you are. And that's that's like the boundary kind of thing, right? Um so so it's the kind of boundary that still allows for communication while also being firm enough that people can see it and then hopefully not cross it, right? And I'm just going to read, there's some stuff in the chat here. Um, if I'm in the relationship with energy from me at the last job, not repacted, but at new job, everyone likes you, need more hours at your job. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, um, to think about this in terms of your job, and then you say you need more hours, which I would translate into like hours equal money, right? Um, and so to think about these cards in that sense, um, it's like you're going from having plenty of hours, plenty of money, right? To not quite enough, not none, but like four is just enough. And so the way we could read this then, given that extra context you've added, is if you're putting in four clubs worth of effort, four clubs worth of work, then I would hope you get at least four diamonds of reward, right? Like you give one, you get one. And it's even nice if you put in four clubs of work and you get five diamonds or six, then you have like a little extra, right? Like your reward for your effort is paid off equally or with a little profit for yourself. But if what's happening is instead of six, now you're only getting three, it's like you're putting in this four clubs effort, but you're only getting three diamonds for it. And so like you're putting in more effort than it's worth, would be a way of putting it. So if we're thinking about drawing relationships or drawing boundaries in specifically work relationships, which it sounds like is important to you here, then that would be it. Like in the work relationship, are you being fairly rewarded for your labor? right? And can you draw a boundary um, around that if you feel like you're not? And so I guess the one other thing I'd add is, if it wasn't clear, I'm reading you as showing up as the Jack of Diamonds here, right? And so there I would think like, send a message that indicates your value. Because of course with diamonds, we're always thinking value. Diamonds are worth a lot, right? Diamonds are, um, they represent value. Um, And so how can you draw that boundary? Well, it's by valuing yourself so that others will value you too, if that makes sense, right? If you value yourself, that will show others that they have to value you as well. And so, for anyone who might be joining, I'm Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I've been doing some free live readings today. I've been using this fantastic deck of cards. I've been doing playing cards today. I usually do tarot, but I love reading playing cards. Sometimes I think I like them even more than tarot. And and so I've been using this deck, Jeu de Cartes au Portrait de Paris, and this is by Artisan Tarot. I don't know if it's, yeah, here we go. Artisan Tarot. I love these guys at Artisan Tarot. They're great. This is a reconstruction of an 18th century deck. And so I've been doing some free readings with this deck today. I've gone on more than 3 hours today. I intended only probably two, but there were so many great questions, and everybody was so useful here, um, providing with me with questions and testing my interpretation skills and all of this. But I need to wind it down today. If I didn't get to read for you today, I'd love to read for you in the future. I encourage you to subscribe to my channel, Hermit's Lantern Tarot, so that you can see more easily when I've scheduled a live stream in advance. If you subscribe, then when you open YouTube on the left, you'll see there's like a little dot next to my name, Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and that means something is scheduled. And if you click that and then click on lives, you'll see when I've scheduled the next live stream. But as I say, I need to call it quits for today. How many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've done 14 today. 10 is usually my limit. So I've got to call it quits. It's also almost dinner time here. So thank you all to those of you who participated in the live stream today. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for engaging with me and one another in the chat. Thanks for being civil to each other in the chat, nice to each other in the chat. And I apologize. I know some of you had some technical difficulties with the chat. I don't know what that was about, but I'm sorry for that. And I hope that we were able I think I was able to read for all of you who sort of got passed over when you couldn't respond as I was calling your name. So be well, take care of each other. I am gone this week, Monday through Friday, but I'm going to see if I can maybe do another live stream next weekend. I'd love to do that. I really enjoy these live streams. I get a lot out of them, and I hope you do too. So again, I'm Will from the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. I'm going to call it a night, everybody. Be well, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.